Hi, boys and girls. Okay, so here we go. We're going to be talking about Holy Thursday and Good Friday. And remember, we don't have school on those days. Those are just days for you to be thinking about how thankful you are that Jesus died for our sins. He died so that all of us, we could join him in heaven. Okay, so Miss Morgan's going to show you some things. Let's see. Here we go. Okay, so here we go. So on Holy Thursday, we think about the Last Supper. So I'm going to read you from the Bible a little bit about the Last Supper. Before the Passover celebration, Jesus knew that his hour had come to leave this world and return to his Father. He had loved his disciples during his ministry on earth, and now he loved them to the very end. It was time for supper, and the devil had already prompted Judas, son of Iscariot, to betray Jesus. Jesus knew that the Father had given him authority over everything, and that he had come from God and would return to God. So he got up from the table, took off his robe, wrapped a towel around his waist, poured water into a basin. A basin is like a big bowl. Then he began to wash the disciples' feet, drying them with the towel he had around him. When Jesus came to Simon Peter, Peter said to him, "Lord, are you going to wash my feet?" Jesus replied, "You do not understand now what I am doing, but someday you will." "No," Peter protested, "you will never ever wash my feet." Jesus said to him, "Unless I wash you, you will not belong to me." Peter exclaimed, "Then wash my hands and my head as well, Lord, not just my feet." Jesus replied, "A person who has bathed all over does not need to wash except for the feet, to be entirely clean. And you disciples are clean, but not all of you." For Jesus knew who would betray him. That is what he meant when he said, "Not all of you are clean." After washing their feet, he put on his robe again and sat down and asked, "Do you understand what I was doing? You call me teacher and Lord, and you are right, because that's what I am. And since I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you ought to wash each other's feet. I have given you an example to follow. Do as I have done to you." All right, so let's go over here. Let's look at some important people. So here is Jesus. We know him. So he, during the Last Supper, this is the last time that he was going to be like eating and being with his disciples. So he chose to wash their feet because that's a way to serve someone else. And he asks us at the end to serve other people just like he served us. Okay, let's see. Okay, we have Judas. He's the one who will betray Jesus. Here's another disciple. This is John. This woman later in that same Bible passage, she decides that she's going to wash Jesus' feet. Or I think, actually, I'm sorry, that's earlier. She decides to wash Jesus' feet. This is Peter. He's the first pope, and he was there with Jesus when at the Last Supper. There's Jesus. We know him. Let's see. They were in Jerusalem. That's the city. And there they are at the first communion. So this was the first time that Jesus had performed the Eucharist. And this was at the Last Supper. So when you're doing this page that you need to do, let's see. Here we go. When you're doing this page, you need to be, you're trying to recreate the Last Supper, a picture of the Last Supper. Okay, here we go. Then after Holy Thursday is Good Friday. So on Good Friday, let me read a little bit to you. After saying these things, Jesus crossed the Kidron Valley with his disciples and entered a grove of olive trees. Judas, the betrayer, knew his place, knew this place because Jesus had gone there with his disciples often. The leading priests and Pharisees had given Judas a contingent of Roman soldiers and temple guards to accompany him. Now, with blazing torches and lanterns and weapons, they arrived to the olive grove. Jesus fully realized that all that was going to happen to him. So he stepped forward to meet them. "Who are you looking for?" he asked. "Jesus the Nazarene," they replied. "I am he," Jesus said. As Jesus said, "I am he," they all drew back and fell to the ground. Once more he asked, "Who are you looking for?" And again they replied, "Jesus the Nazarene." "I told you that I am he," said Jesus. "And since I am the one you want, let these others go." He did this to fulfill his own statement. "I did not lose a single one of those you have given me." Then Simon Peter drew a sword and slashed the ear of Malchus, the high priest's slave. But Jesus said to Peter, "Put your sword back into its sheath. Shall I not drink from the cup of suffering the Father has given me?" So he said, "No violence, because I am here to make everything peaceful." So the soldiers, their commanding officer, and the temple guards arrested Jesus and tied him up. They took him to the father-in-law of Caiaphas, the high priest at the time. Caiaphas was the one who had told the other Jewish leaders, "It's better that the one man should die for the people." Simon Peter followed Jesus, as did another one of the disciples. The other disciple was acquitted with the high priest, so he was allowed to enter the high priest's courtyard with Jesus. Peter had to stay outside the gate. Then the disciple who knew the high priest spoke to the woman watching at the gate, and she let Peter in. The woman asked Peter, "You are not one of that man's disciples, are you?" "No," he said, "I am not." Because it was cold, the house servants and the guards had made a charcoal fire. They stood around it warming themselves, and Peter stood with them, warming himself. Inside, the high priest began asking Jesus about his followers and what he had been teaching them. So, boys and girls, when he went in to see the high priest, everybody was already saying that he should die, and Jesus knew in his heart that that was okay because he loves all of you so much that he knew that that was right, that that's what he needed to do. All right, so let's look at some important people. Also on Good Friday was when he carried his cross. So all of those different stations of the cross that you have been coloring and showing me, and they have been so beautiful, boys and girls. All of those stations of the cross, those are things that are going to happen on Good Friday. So when Jesus had to take up his cross, when he fell, all those times, when he met his mother, when Veronica wiped his face, when Simon helped him carry the cross, when he got up the hill, when he was crucified, all those things happened on Good Friday. All right, so we know Mary, that's Jesus's mother. She's so sad because all these people are treating her son so unfairly. But she also knows that Jesus is going to die because he loves all of us. And remember, Jesus had to die for heaven to be opened. So we have to say thank you to Jesus every single day for his sacrifice so that we could go into heaven with him. All right, this is Mary Magdalene. She is one of Mary's friends. Okay, this is Pontius Pilate. He's the one who tries to, or who tells Jesus that he has to die. We know Jesus. There's Simon Peter, later known as Peter. He's our first pope. We know Judas. We just talked about him. He's the one who betrays Jesus. There's the crucifix that Jesus died on. Okay. So my friends, those are the the things that you're doing for Holy Thursday and Good Friday, those are the things you're thinking about. So on Holy Thursday, you're thinking about how Jesus said, do to others as I would do to you. So treat others with the love that Jesus shows you. And on Good Friday, you're thinking about the Stations of the Cross and how he had to do all these hard things because he loves you. All right, real quick, let's review. So this is what you're doing for Holy Thursday. So you have to cut out all of these and paste them onto a blank piece of paper to make the Last Supper. And then you need to put these in order. So what happened first on Good Friday, okay? All right. And that is all that you have to do. My friends, I hope you have a holy and blessed Holy Week. See you later.